Hey Tom, how's it going?
John, I'm well. How are you?
Good, I'm good. So earlier, I didn't catch all of it. I'm not sure I could listen to all of it and not go clinically insane. But did you uh did you catch Pam Bondi in the hearing earlier today? I don't think I've ever seen a federal, well, a cabinet member, the highest level federal official that we have underneath right directly underneath the president, and she was just unhinged. She was a raving lunatic that answered every question with an insult. I mean, it was disturbing just because I mean, like, clearly, it's just like, uh, I mean, it can't just be a performance, right? I mean, yes, it is. They keep saying the audience of one. Who, like, imagining that someone would just prostate themselves,
Yeah,
or either way.
I got what
Um,
you
yeah, and
got.
just to get to it, because I'll admit, and then I'll let you take the mic for a minute. But I had this weird, like, the part of me finds her funny. Like, there's a little bit I'm like, it's comical a bit, if it weren't so damn serious, and disgusting. But, like, that's just the quirk that I have, is because she sounds like like, the way that she wails and just spins herself up, and it's obviously, like, I almost feel like there are times when I feel like she almost busts out laughing at her own performance, because she's like, clearly I mean, like, she's I mean, it's all performance. There's no, she's not responding legitimately to any of the questions. I mean, and I know you have your thoughts on why, so I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I mean, I've just watched clips on social media. I didn't get to see the full thing, like most everyone else. I've got a day job and this is just what I do for fun. That'll give you an insight into what my sense of humor is. Well, just
Well,
watching this
then that
clip,
wait a second, Tom, before you get started, then that means everybody who's watching this should hit subscribe and like, right?
right? Please hit
Okay.
subscribe
All
and
right.
like because, yeah, you know, John and I, we're just enthusiasts, political enthusiasts. Like everybody else, we've got a lot of balls in the air, and we try to keep up with everything. In this day and age, it's impossible. Many times, I'll find out something new and interesting just a few minutes before we go on, and I've forgotten the thing I wanted to talk about. Today, front and center, I had a lot of things I want to talk about and get around to it, maybe not, but watching the clips I saw, it was just appalling. And I'm thinking it's very plain to see, in my view, that this is they're playing by a plan, almost like a script. And I think, he's telling her, he being Donnie, is telling her, look, you can't say this. You've got to say this. I don't want you to say it this way. I want you to say it this way. Because, you have to understand he's looking for a performance that's going to make him look good. It's not certainly not going to help him, but he wants to show that, his people are fighters. And so I think they kind of throw away any kind of decorum, any idea of decorum, any idea of answering questions, like certainly not going to answer a yes or a no. And so they go in, just basically spiked up. And any question they're asked, be it a legit question or a direct attack, they're going to respond in kind. That's what they're doing. Very confrontational, not answering the question. And of course, the second thing they do, this is their classic fallback, is the whataboutism. You know, they have lots of that, right? What about Biden? What about the DOJ under Biden with Garland? And this has been going on for a long time. Same thing with Trump. He's, this is what he does. He does it very well. They never, ever, or I don't understand why no one addresses this with them. It's like, I understand whataboutism. Democrats are not perfect, nor was Biden. I understand. but there is a
Yeah.
big difference between what
It's
Biden was doing and Hunter Biden. So it is a matter of
no, this is
degree.
no, this,
They don't talk about the degree. It's a false equivalency. Both are
yeah,
bad,
no.
but it's not the same thing.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, I just have to pile on there because, like, dude, I mean, it's a culture of lying, of obfuscating, of conning,
Mhm.
and just working the grift, and like, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's transparently to anyone who's watching it who isn't a Trump sycophant or, MAGA cult member, looks at it and thinks, what the fuck is this person ranting about? And, but it's because they think they can get away with it. They don't, but you had been talking about this earlier, which is uh, they're aware that they don't have the facts on their side. That's why they're doing
Right.
this. And so, it's anything to deflect, distract, um, just try to, I mean, they constantly try, like almost like children, really. Like Bondi, I sometimes find childlike, which is occasionally while I sort of chuckle and I'm like the whole, dark parody thing in my head thinks it's funny for a second. Um, I mean, yeah, but I mean, she was when she was attacking Jamie Raskin. I mean, I was just kind of laughing
I didn't
because,
see that yet. I haven't
oh
seen
my
that.
God, she was attacking him. I can't. She called him like, "You washed up fake lawyer," all this other stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, right, man." Like he's a leading constitutional lawyer and professor of
She
that.
did not wanna let him go because he's not only super sharp, he's super witty, and he can
Yeah, well, he was right back. He was more than responding, or no, not more than, but he was responding in kind, or he wasn't he wasn't as rude as she was, but yeah, no, he didn't back down a bit. But I mean, all she's trying to do is not answer the freaking questions. That's it.
right. That's
And
right.
so she's not gonna, when they ask her every tough question, prompted a personal attack, a political attack.
Mhm.
So she started at one point, she started wildly, you know, um, going on about the Dow Jones and the stock
Yeah,
market, and
right.
she was just like throwing her hands up in the
Yeah,
air, and she's like $50,000
yeah.
and blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
she didn't even know what 50.
Yeah, she was just like, and again, I'm laughing because it is ludicrous, it's ridiculous, but like fucking attorney general, man. And I mean, this is the same, and as stupid and inept and foul and obnoxious as she is, she's also the one, she's the attack dog that is, on a rather broad level, like just, they've ramped up the machines. So like, if you get in the crosshair, they're gonna
Yeah,
try to put and get an indictment on you.
that's exactly right, and, it becomes ever so important at this point that, you don't piss Donnie off because you don't wanna jeopardize a potential pardon later on because he'll
Yeah, no, they're not. There's nobody in that administration, not a fucking one, not to a person that I can think of that's willing to piss Donnie off.
they
Not
are in it.
intentionally. Like, I think some of their complete ineptitude, like, I think there are several of them that are on a very thin ice, like Chrissy Nome
I do agree.
potentially, and God knows, like, what the fuck is Tulsi Gabbard doing in our government anywhere. But, yes, so I think that kind of gets to something you and I had been talking about off air is just think about the lack of character, the lack of decency, the lack of humanity, the complete and total disdain for laws and any restrictions whatsoever on their mission to destroy this country. And, and it's this whole group of people that, like, it's not an insignificant number of people that are completely beholden to Trump, some in a very, I think, self-serving capacity. And I'd say when Trump is no more, then it becomes a shark pool.
Well, I totally agree. I look back at his first administration, and if you think about Sarah Huckabee Sanders, if you want
Thanks,
to know,
Tom.
like,
Thanks a lot. I really
remember her?
love thinking about her. She's so, no,
I mean,
stop.
literally, the fury and the hatred was oozing out of her pores. I mean, it turned her into this
Yes.
Smeagol
Yeah,
golem
no, like
type
baring the
of thing.
teeth, like kind of in that,
Yeah, but
that
I,
conservative, like horse kind of way.
she was so. I
She
mean,
was a
she was
snarling.
just snarling. Exactly. She had a snarling resting face, and when she got angry, but I think she truly believes that she was on a mission from God, and that she truly believed to save the country.
A
And
very
God,
angry, vengeful God, I might add,
I know. I mean, they
right?
fall in love with the God of the Old Testament, even though they call themselves Christians. But I mean, I truly believe she just believed everything. I look at Levitt, I'm just like, you know, it's like she has
She's
memorized.
an
She's got a
actress.
script in her head for every
Yeah.
single question. She has a response for it. And it always leads back to some place like, because Donald Trump is the best president ever and America is in its best place ever. She'll turn everything. And why aren't you talking more about that? It's all she.
I'm surprised they don't have like just that, like stickers and of that everywhere, and like because like yeah, no, that's like they always turn it into well because like that's what strokes his ego. He has to be
That's
the
exactly it.
greatest and the best and the biggest and the none of which is ever true. It's
No, I
always
mean,
a lie.
he's got just a handful of adjectives that he uses. It's
Biggest.
great, the biggest,
You know what? I might give him one. I'll give him one.
yeah.
He may be the greatest con man of all time.
Well, that
He may
really is
be.
what it is at the end. It's a total grift. Everybody around him is really
That's all
just
it is.
basically just a total.
Exactly. There's no point. I mean, and I wish that, I mean, not that you can never, this is why that Tom and I are doing this, right? Because they may be good sources of certain types of information in certain quantities, but the mainstream media is either afraid of the Trump regime, pulling punches. They have their own agenda. Let's not forget that they're owned by companies who
Correct.
care about profit and profit only, just like every corporation
Yeah.
out there.
I do really,
So,
yeah. I think
yeah,
they hold the collective intellect of the public and the collective public in contempt. I think that they basically think that the majority of the people that follow them are stupid. Case in point is like, for the last couple of days, some of the headlines, I should say, the headline has been in many media portals, the Guthrie story, right? With the
right,
mother
right.
being kidnapped. Tragic. My heart goes out to the family. Of course, my God, I couldn't imagine if something like that happened close to home. But to me, that's not news. That's a personal, to me, that's a personal issue and a police issue. Certainly people go missing in this country every day, right? I would guess
True.
by the
Hey, true.
thousands,
It's the
right?
mother of
And
a famous
he's
person
just a
is
mother
why.
of a celebrity. Correct. And while I hope everything turns out well. I truly do. It's not something I really want to follow. I don't think it belongs in the headlines. That's just my view.
I
It's
think
just,
it belongs. No, I don't. It's inevitably going to be in the news. But
it's a
your
human
point
interest
is,
story
yeah,
and
your point is
people are drawn
exactly.
to
Your
them.
point is well taken. It shouldn't. I mean, like, are they going to provide updates on a nightly basis? Yeah, but it doesn't need to be 15 minutes of a nightly news show, for example.
Right.
And I agree.
Right.
It's terrible, it's tragic, and all of that. Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think that they have a vested interest, I suppose, or I don't think like a lot of the people that work for the mainstream media are not. It's not like they're untalented or stupid, or
No.
I'm not saying that, but like you wonder why they even give. For example, MSNBC had can't I'm trying to think of his name. He's Kevin something. He's one of the economic advisors. He was the other guy that was in line for the Fed job. I think he's not the head of Treasury. But anyway, that guy was invited on to MSNBC to talk about the job numbers. And I'm like, why are you having lying liars from a authoritarian fascist regime onto your show like he's another Treasury secretary? He's not the Treasury secretary, but anyway, like I don't get it. Platform them when they are attacking the media. They're arresting reporters, and you're inviting these people to come and act like this is a legitimate regime. I mean, like, let's be clear. These people it's not like, oh, if they keep doing what they're doing, then they're criminals. No, they are criminals. They have already, every single cabinet member, Donald Trump himself a million times over, Just Dance Vance, they're all criminals. They've all violated statutes. They've also completely violated the Constitution in multiple areas. Pick your amendment. They've all been violated. Fourth, fifth, sixth, first
And
is under attack. So like stop treating them like they're anything other than the lying fascists that they are. Like, I'm a big fan of calling a thing a thing. Call it by its name. This is who they are, and they've banded together. Flies on. You know what? It's just an infestation of the worst people we could possibly have drifting off of us and try. But also, like, don't be mistaken, everybody. Like, the grift is permanent if they have their way. If you want us to look like Russia, that's the model.
right.
A
Sure.
handful of incredibly wealthy oligarchs, and the rest can eat fucking, potatoes and beets and shut up and don't have an opinion, don't have any freedoms, and you're just essentially there to serve whichever oligarch you fall under and make them into a
Yeah.
multi billionaire. So
Right.
that's
And I do
that's
think,
what's going on.
well, I mean, I think, when you look at the polling, he's basically broken his record. He's at his most unpopular point in either administration. And, you begin to wonder what has finally brought these people around. People like us and probably the people watching this have always been, on the side of like, are you kidding? Why is this guy even running for president? He's unfit. He's unqualified. He's been a joke. I mean, I became an adult in the 80s, and that's when he was kind of introduced to the rest of the world outside of New York. And, at that time, it was the 80s and it was the yuppies and, it was the dress for success, which he still dresses by that book to this very day. And, Trump was part of that. He was part of the culture, and it was kind of like, boom time, and he was part of that. But then,
Yeah, he's
he
never
did
changed.
he
He
never
literally is
changed.
still dressing and
But you had
acting.
you
uh,
had your Gordon
this
Geckos in the
country
movie.
this country is so hot. It's so hot.
He was like this. Then he became something of a joke. In the 80s, you had the
He's
movie Wall
always been a
Street.
he's always been a fucking joke, in
He
my
always has been. He's
like, he's
been
always
he's
been.
been that he's been that kind of joke. Well, like, ain't that America kind of joke up until like he became like this gradually older sleazeball, and you got to see everything, and he was like just rotten to the core. You know, you
Well, now
you could just dismiss him for the most part. You didn't have to deal with him.
yeah.
Um,
Now we find out no, look, I mean, like, when you add pedophile to the description of Donald Trump, which, in my opinion, of the facts that are available to me publicly, that they point to him being a pedophile. And so, does that surprise me? No, because all of the available facts prior to his first election was that he is a sexual assaulter and a rapist too. And I specifically reference the 20 plus women that came out, and those are the ones that were willing to come out publicly and with their stories and I call them accusations, not because I believe every single one of them, honestly. And so he's a predator, and he's a grifter, he's a con man, he's a monster, is what he is. He's a monster. He's the most monstrous human being, I think that I could imagine as president of the United States, and
right.
doing everything that they're doing right now. So, it's so I guess in that sense, it's not surprising that you have, I mean, just a very, very bizarre Nazi-like caricature that Pam Bondi is. And, I mean, Cash Patel.
I
I
know.
mean, what like, you go down the list from Besant, the belligerent billionaire, wanting to fight everybody and just going out on every station and lie. I mean, they all are lying all of the time. They're just making shit up, insulting people, threatening people. Now they're arresting journalists. It's
It's interesting to watch this. If I were a sociologist, I'd be scribbling notes for my thesis on this.
yeah.
I mean, their go-to is lying, and they're not good at it. I mean, they're really not good at it. They do not think forward. They don't connect the dots forward. They don't really consider the consequences. I don't know if it's just that they're just bad at it, or it's almost like a strategy of like, I'm just going to lie now and pray to God that real facts don't come out later and blow this whole thing up. Case in point, Lutnick. We were
I think
talking
it's
about this
because
earlier.
in their mind, like that, like, let's be honest, like, I don't want to make us, I don't want to.
We're not psychologists. We're not.
No, and I don't want to, depress anyone more than I'm depressed about what's happening. So let me qualify it that way. But I mean, let's face it, they're all in on the project,
Hmm.
and in their mind, they've already cheated and would done whatever they have to do to corrupt, overturn,
Right.
you know, et cetera, the midterm elections, and that they won't have any consequences. I think I mean, trust me, I don't think that there's plenty of doubt in their minds. I think that they're desperate, like, almost like, if you go back and think about Pam Bondi's performance today, and many others like them by her, and others in the administration, I mean, it speaks of fear, like fear of their leader, fear of Donald Trump, but also I think that they're coming to the realization that this train ride is coming to
It's
an
coming to an
end,
end. Exactly. I feel the
and
same way.
the country is not with them.
No, the country is not with them. I mean, the part of the country that thought that this guy was going to give them the very things he was promising them during the election are now like, oh my God,
Well,
it's the
right, and
very opposite
I
of
don't want
what
to come across as sort of, on one hand, I want to commend the electorate. I'd please keep voting. I don't want to be snotty and talk about all the idiots who vote, which there are a lot of idiots who vote. And there are a lot of people that like don't pay attention. They vote based on this like most trivial little interaction or piece of information that they, 10 seconds on TikTok or what have you. And that's unfortunate. But everyone's tuned in now, for the most part. Anyone that isn't just totally out to lunch, I mean, they're tuning in now because they're like, shit's not funny, whether it's, the economy's still bad. I don't care what some like that. First of all, that I don't really even believe their numbers anyway at this point. I have no
Right.
reason to believe them about anything. But even if you take the employment, the, jobs number that came out today, it wasn't really all that great. I mean,
No.
it was minimal if you look at where we've been over the past, 2 years, 3 years, and it will probably be revised down. Hell, it might even be revised negative because everything last year was pathetic. It was one of the worst years of job growth that we've had in a hell of a long time, other than just like when we had those, the most recent recession. So, yeah, there, and I mean, and then all of the terror, all of the, I don't know how many people, sort of tune in to somebody like Don Lemon getting arrested, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, there's a
Now, I mean,
lot like that,
that's to me, mentioning things like Don Lemon, even mentioning the jobs report is almost like preaching to the choir with people like us. We're tuned into this kind of thing, and that's interesting to us. I tell you what really
I think,
hurt
I
me.
don't know, Don Lemon maybe, but certainly like, okay, if not Don Lemon, then what's been going on in Minneapolis? I mean, there's,
I think that Minneapolis, the Epstein files, and then another watershed event happened this Sunday at the Super Bowl. I believe that that was a pivotal moment for a lot of people because he did such a great job. Now, I'm not saying I'm a Bad Bunny fan. I've never heard any of his music. I don't. I think he did a great job entertaining. He's a great performer. I prefer musicians. That's my era. It's where I come from. I don't necessarily watch performers. He's a performer. Good for him. But it was so well done. I thought it was theatrical. It's great, entertaining. And this message that he sent. And at the end of it, I'm all on his side already, but it's like, you know, this is where the fun is. This is joy and peace and love. Aren't you tired of feeling like shit? Aren't you tired of being mad? Like, even if you're not the core MAGA, this has not been fun at all. Every day, it's this
well, the,
hate, it's this anger, it's this revenge, and it's just,
yeah, but I
you
mean,
know,
it,
here's
I
how we
mean,
can be. Here's how we can be.
so I
We can be
agree. I
happy.
mean, I don't know if that's I mean, I think that's one of many turning points. I mean, I think everything they're doing is either different than, or, well, a lot of it is what they said they were going to do. So I don't want to let people off the hook. Like, if you didn't pay attention, or you just paid a little tiny bit of attention, you thought this guy and these awful people were going to do anything for you or for anyone else that doesn't have, a billion and plus in invest in assets. Welcome to planet Earth. Welcome to reality on planet Earth. And because like this is, I mean, they're willing to sell, like they've destroyed the EPA. They're letting people pollute,
Mhm,
both in terms of toxic chemicals,
mhm,
shit in the air. They're trying to like, they're literally trying to unleash, Exxon and all these, polluters without any
sure,
consequences. And then
sure,
we're all going to be the ones that pay, and that will not only pay, we'll pay higher prices, but we'll pay the price in terms of economic costs and things that are happening in
that's
terms of
right.
climate change. So it is for all the marbles, for all of those, like there's so many reasons that this is important. And I hope I hope some people that maybe don't normally tune in, maybe if you listen to us for a little bit and get some information because, it does, it's like nobody's going to save us. We have Crazy Pam as our AG. We have all the other sleaze bags and, you know, con men and women and
Right.
all of these dishonest, cultists, and they're going to take everything. I mean, they're already stealing your and my tax money at a crazy rate. Donald Trump's trying to pay himself, tens of billions of dollars from the federal government for perceived injuries. The level of corruption, the grift is on a scale that we've never, ever, ever seen before.
Hmm.
Period. In this
Right.
country, never
Yeah.
at this level. And again, you know, think about living in Russia.
I'm
Is that
telling
really
you,
what you want?
yeah. These off year elections, we've seen a lot that sends the sentiment that things are going to change. What was it in Oklahoma? I think the Republican did win in a solid red district, but
I didn't see the one in
the
Oklahoma, but there
Democrat
was a
way overperformed, way
yeah.
overperformed.
Well, there
It's
was
hard to
one in
keep up.
Texas. There was one
Yeah,
in Texas
in the
that
state.
was a 31-point swing.
Yes, in the state Senate there. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the kind of things. These are the kind of things that have got
Well,
the
it's been
Republicans in
consistent.
Texas worried because
There hasn't
it's
been a race that I'm aware of yet that didn't have, I would say, for the most part, a minimum of 12-point swing.
Mhm.
I think the average that they have going right now across the board is 16, and I think that's actually increasing. So if they like again, like I hate to keep repeating this, but the danger is, I mean, I understand the argument, and from an old political science hack, I understand the argument that even dictators like to have elections. But I can tell you Donald Trump would like to cancel the election. He's a he's deathly afraid of this upcoming election. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to succeed in canceling the election. If he can, he will most likely try. I don't know what else he has to tell people
Yeah.
about that. And I don't want to I don't say that to panic people, but I don't I
Well,
don't
I
know what
don't
else
say
to
it.
say. Organize, get out and vote. Vote, vote, vote.
That's what really has to happen. We have to have an overwhelming wave is what has to happen
Yes.
because I can tell you he's going to do everything. And if you think that, what Bannon says, we're going to surround ICE around the polling places and, people may basically brave it and go through, but that is voter intimidation and that will have an impact. I mean, you
And
block,
they are going to do
yeah,
at least some of
at
that. I mean,
least
if you
that
think it's not going to be zero,
if they get,
and hopefully it's not
if they play
large
the
scale
same
and
game they played
nationwide.
down in Fulton County, they after the state has counted the votes and they just decide to seize it. I mean, the point is,
Let
I
me
don't
ask you
think he
this.
can cancel it. I don't think it's going to be bad for him, but this is
Yeah.
going to go down in history. This
I
election,
think he may try. I don't know. And I think if he thought for a second that he could, that he absolutely would.
it, yeah,
But even so, I think they are rather inept, unserious people, almost to the person, but
yes,
they do have a plan, and
hmm
they have, which in sometimes is better than what the Democrats have, because they just don't seem to be able to have a plan because they don't have the right leadership in place.
do not have the right leadership in place. Yep,
Yeah. But it is nuts to see how these people are just they're throwing it all, like, I know that they know, except for maybe I don't know who is the craziest among them that, like, does have this some some degree of self-awareness or in touch with sort of actual reality. But it's so performative, but it's so, I mean, it's like it doesn't matter, if when you're doing your little Heil Hitler that you're thinking, ah, that Hitler guy, he's such a jerk. You're still doing Heil Hitler, like, and they know what's expected of them and they're willing to do anything. I mean, they're willing to try, like we were talking about earlier, like like so many of their indictments now are failing. They're failing to get returned out of grand juries. And that is, I'm not a lawyer, but every lawyer that I listen to and respect their opinion say like that almost never happens. Like that's a very rare occurrence, and it just tells you how half-assed and just spurious, just completely illegitimate political hack attempts at prosecution. And yeah,
Yeah. There's a saying, a grand jury could indict a ham sandwich. I mean, I've done grand jury duty, and I can tell
ham
you,
sandwich is laughing at the grand jury right now. Ham sandwich
I
is
mean,
laughing.
in the grand jury, you only see evidence from the prosecution. You don't see any defense evidence, right?
Yeah, and totally different standard of
And
yeah,
you just need a quorum. You need a majority in the quorum. It could be 20
right,
people, it could be 30.
right. And it's just essentially a vague, like, well, it seems as though it's possible that this person committed this crime. It's not
And a
it's not
prosecutor,
beyond a reasonable doubt.
yeah,
Yeah.
a prosecutor will not commit
Well,
any of their effort, resources,
yeah.
etc.,
They
to
won't go before the grand jury unless
you will never
they
go there unless they feel
yeah.
like they've got a good chance to take this past the grand jury to either settlement or trial. That is exactly. And the fact that they couldn't get the grand jury to indict, they must.
And this
I
is
mean,
like
it's all
becoming a
him, though. It's all
this,
him. I mean, it's all him. He is pushing them. There's no way that any attorney, I mean, could be disbarred for this kind of behavior. They should be. I mean, I, I,
yeah.
I don't. It's all him pushing this thing. This is who he. This is what he wants, and these people are so in with him. And to your point, I do think they're very scared. I think that's why I think that anything will be tried here in the next months coming up, because we cannot lose. It's existential. If we lose, we're going to prison, or there's going to be something. We're going to be devastated. We have to hold power. It's that bad. And that's why I just think that, running up to this thing, and it's part and parcel of why we do this video cast, is because, we really want people to get involved, get educated. John and I, we talked about this before we began doing this project here. We're not PhDs, but, we have eyes, we have ears, and what we're trying to do is share just from the layman's standpoint. We're down in the weeds every day with everybody else. We want to basically bring it to everybody's attention. Tell your neighbor, tell your family members, spread the word. If you see something on social media that you feel should be said, you're in line with this kind of thinking. Listen, you know the difference between right and wrong. It's very simple. And it comes down to this now. What is right? What is wrong? What were you taught in school? What were you taught in your household? You know the answer to this. And it is very critical, because the people that are running that administration, history's going to judge them harshly, but history is something that happens in the future looking backwards. We're talking about right now. I do not want to live underneath a dictatorship, nor do I want everybody coming knocking at my door just because they don't like the things I say on social media. I mean, it's that important. They're
And they
arresting
will, and
citizens.
they
They're
will
murdering
because
citizens.
yeah, they're murdering citizens. And by the way, they have technology that they're leveraging now out in the field where they can scan your face, do a facial scan,
Right.
and they freaking know everything about you within seconds. They know your address, they know who you are, and now you're on their list. And that's how they're operating. So like if you think that is a good America, that somehow you or someone you love won't end up on that list for whatever reason. They're the wrong color, they have the wrong accent, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, they tried to help somebody who was being attacked, by ICE or some goon, some
Yep.
thug. dispatched
Yeah.
by the Trump regime, and people are losing their lives. Meanwhile, like back to brass tacks here, like everybody always wants to come back to the economy. And I agree with Tom, by the way. I think we should never shy away from talking about what the core values are here. Like let's put them right there on the table. Let's talk about it. And let's say, I mean, honestly, I think more of the country, if you simplified things a little bit and you didn't, and there wasn't a whole industry of people that are there to divide us. Like that's how they make their money. If we didn't have that, I think we could agree on a lot more. But that's why I think it's important, and also to just making the plea. If anybody's made it this far that's apathetic, I doubt it. If you have made it this far and you're politically apathetic, I virtually slap you in the face and want to wake your ass up. But like, you know, come on. Like, I just don't understand people that want to stick their heads in the sand, not facing what
You don't
we're
have that
dealing with.
luxury. You simply
No,
don't have that luxury. If you don't have the luxury of being apathetic where you can just rock along in your little world, because I can tell you, if we lose this thing, your world is going to change. It's going to get worse. First of all, these are not smart people. They are destructive. Nothing will stop them. They will be continue to enrich themselves. You will suffer
destroy
as a
the
consequence.
economy, going to destroy, they're going to ignore and violate
That's right.
anyone and everyone's freedom on
That's right.
every level
That's right.
they feel like. They are going to impose their will on every aspect of life. Yeah. Like that's where this shit ends up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like we're making this up.
Right.
This is the way these things go in the world. And that's not a new thing. So like yeah, I hope people wake up, and in the meantime, I mean, like, you know, I'm trying not to spend too much time obsessing about every little, piece of news, though it's really hard not to. But thinking much more about like what can I do, to sort of make an impact on any level going forward now through the midterms. And I am going to be pursuing professional opportunities in the field if anyone wants to reach out. But also just, whether it's volunteering, whether it's going to protests, helping to organize. I've stepped up my efforts, and I encourage everybody to think about just, even if it's just like, what's the one thing that I could do, whether, you go on ice patrol
That's
in
right.
your neighborhood, or you get involved in a chapter of Indivisible or whatever. But
That's
just
right.
like get with the democracy loving, decent people that are out there. There's so much more of us than there are of them. And they're going to find that out in November. And I think it'll have the opposite effect. I think the more that they try to oppress and they try to, like Minneapolis didn't back down. And actually, if they had gone harder, I think Minneapolis would have gone harder.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
I
think
mean,
that's going to be true in a lot of other
yeah,
places that, maybe that's what they want. I don't know. But like, they definitely want to disturb things. They definitely want that. They're going to walk it all the way up to the line in
that's
terms of
exactly
trying to
right.
intimidate and
That's exactly
and
right.
potentially,
Because
oppress. But I just
the law says that the Fed can weigh in on federal on elections where, the states by the Constitution are supposed to be in total control of them if it's a matter of national security, which is why Tulsi Gabbard was down there. This is all a ruse. They're setting this thing up because this is exactly what they want to play out. You have to understand that even if he can't pull it off, even if he loses, like by the count, and no matter what he does, he can't deny it. He will. And what he's going to do is
sure.
undermine the integrity. And that's his plan. Is like,
Well, that's a given. That's for sure. Like, there's no. I mean, he's already done that before, so there's no reason and gotten away with it. And so there's no reason to think that he's not going to do that again. I do like, I don't know. It is,
I mean, you know, there's enough people out there that believe that a video showing somebody dumping ballots, mail-in ballots out of a bag is proof of fraud, even though that's how you empty any bag with any ballots
right,
anytime. That's the
right.
method you empty a
That
bag.
only happens 872,000 times every election or whatever the
There
number.
it is.
Yeah,
There's proof. Yeah.
there it is.
So
There's somebody emptying a bag of ballots to be counted during the
you'll
process.
believe anything, some of these people. But yeah, John. So I don't know. I think, I've said all I want to say for tonight. I think we've saved plenty for another episode. I think it'll be coming up soon. But again, people, from the bottom of our hearts, please, share this video, share others, like and subscribe. We're going to keep doing this.
Subscribe.
That's right. And, look for us on TikTok. We're on there as well. Look for us on Substack. We're on there as well. And we appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Tom and I would like to take this thing on full time and produce a ton more content for everybody and really, sort of focused on the cause of fighting authoritarianism
Right. Yeah.
and,
And
and
then
promoting democracy.
correct. And then let's talk about plans on how to make this the best America can be. I mean, we've got so much potential and so many things can be done to move that needle in the direction. And
This
that's
is all
but
self-inflicted pain, man.
that's
This is
right. But
all,
right
it's
now,
all gun to the
right
head
now we've got
shit.
to keep our head above water. Can't drown. And then,
You got to take power back. You got
we
to
got to
take
take
power back.
power back. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, everybody, stay safe. We love you. Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.